Welcome to another episode of The Voice of Viet Vegas. In this episode, I am pleased to have a conversations with one of the well-known friends of the Asian community in Las Vegas. Pauline Lee is the community activist, organizer, and a volunteer in the Asians and Greater Las Vegas community. Born and raised in Southern California, Pauline received her Bachelor of Accounting degree from USC, University of Southern California, and her Juris Doctorate from Duke University School of Law in 1989. Throughout her time working in national multi-office law firm, Pauline practiced in the area of bankruptcy and commercial litigations in Las Vegas, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Houston. In 1997, Pauline moved to Las Vegas, and in 2000, Pauline was elected a shareholder of the law firm of Held, Lane, Pitt, Dennison, and Howard. She was co-chair of the Bankruptcy and Restructuring Department from 2001 to 2004. In 1999, she co-founded the Asian Bar Associations of Las Vegas. In 2003, the National Asian Pacific Bar Association named her a Best Lawyer Under 40. The following year, In Business Las Vegas named her a Rising Star after the birth of her fourth child. Pauline retired from active law practice and now volunteers with charitable nonprofit organizations throughout Southern Nevada. She served as general counsel with the Asian Chamber of Commerce Foundations and the Asian Chamber of Commerce Political Actions Committee. Pauline also served as a co-president of the Clark County Medical Society Alliance and the Nevada State Medical Association Alliance. Advocating on issues to improve the health of Southern Nevadans, Pauline currently serves on the board of directors for Keystone Corporations and board of trustees for the Nevada School of the Arts. Community Music Conservatory, she has served on the board of the National Charity League, Young Men's Services League, and was the founding board member of the Asian Community Development Council. She is currently president of the Nevada Republican Club, which educates its members on current civics policy and promotes sound, honest, and conservative value in government. Pauline, welcome to the Voice of Viet Vegas.
Thank you, Tuan. It's an honor to be here.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to visiting us. And I always wanted to have a conversation with you for a long, long time. And this is the time. And thank you so much for taking the time to visiting us. But thank you so much for the service, Pauline. I mean, you know, you are a role model for a lot of youngsters out there that, you know, wanted to get into a...
Thank you.
Thank you.
I really enjoy community activism. I think it's really important for people to be informed, and I meet wonderful people like you, Tuan, and who inspire me to always work harder and try to do better. And so that's why I really enjoy my community activism.
And it's a blessing for us to have a chance to help the community. And thank you so much for all of the work that you have done. But the first question that I wanted to ask you is this. As a head of the Nevada Republican Club, you must be very busy during this campaign season, isn't it? So especially in the critical election, would you please share with our audience why is this election is so crucial to you and why?
Well, I'm really busy definitely helping all of our candidates. The reason why this election is particularly crucial is because we have some major important state issues that we need to face. For example, there is a $1.5 billion shortfall in the state budget that we need to make up. We have a COVID shutdown of most of our businesses, and the economic engine that generates income and revenue for Las Vegas and for the rest of the state is encumbered by the shutdown and by the supercilious regulations put down by the governor. On one hand, we can't have gatherings of 50 people and more, and yet you have 50 people and more at these protests and riots. And, you know, the pivotal issues that are facing the state are security, the economy. We have a pretty significant 25% unemployment rate. We have people not getting their unemployment checks. We have people out of work. You know, when we get out of this, if we get out of this COVID shutdown, what is our economy going to look like? How many people will have to be ousted out of their apartments or their commercial leases? It's a real issue. So this is a critical election because we're talking about our own state economy that we need to get back on track. We have healthcare issues, education. We need to educate our kids. Most of our kids are not getting the kind of education they should be getting from pre-K through high school. And how is that going to prepare them for college if they get into college? And how is it going to affect them in the future in terms of their own ability to bring in revenue? Right. So there are a lot of issues in the state. I'm working very hard to educate people about candidates. We have security, police security is an issue, so many issues. We're having a good time talking to people about what they're worried about.
Well, I totally agree with you though, but you know, we have a discussion the other day that sometimes that the elected official has too much power in their hand, and sometimes that they use it in a way that would hurt the public. So with the candidate that you have, and I'm sure that you have plenty of candidates that you wanted to introduce to the public and educated them on the issue of how do we uphold the constitutions, and the candidate would not violating, you know, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, and of course that, you know, a few other amendments that very important to all of us. So in that, what do you think that your candidates have in order to offer to the public a different choice?
Well, I think all of the candidates really believe in three major things. They all believe in the Second Amendment, that we do each have a right to bear arms. All of them believe in fiscal responsibility. If we are over budget as a state, we need to look into our own government operations and try to streamline that, and try to figure out where can we cut. Instead of cutting Medicaid, Medicare, and education, we should be cutting back on some of the government services and look at, carefully, where can we perhaps furlough the government employees by several days a month to try to make up for that shortfall. I think all of the candidates agree that we need to open up our economy. We need to get the Strip and all of our entertainment venues back on track. We have entertainers, we have football players, we have soccer players. We had a very vibrant entertainment industry, and we need to really open up that industry back up. We have way too many people reliant on the entertainment industry. That's definitely very important. So you're talking about fiscal conservatism. They all agree that we need to open up our economy, and they all believe that we should cut down on the government budget and be more careful about how we spend our government dollars. Everyone also believes that it's really important to take care of our seniors and those who are most vulnerable by lowering drug prices. That's something that's very important to the Republican platform. And finally, free speech. It's so important that we all be able to peaceably assemble together, whether it be at a church, at someone's home to celebrate a wedding. And we can do this safely. People can wear masks, and we need to be very aware of how we can gather together.
Well, in your opinions, and I understand that you are very active into pushing some of your agenda out there. So which local race is critical for conservative to win, especially the local race, within the Senate and the Assembly? uh, what do we have a chance to win those seats to make sure that we have a voice in the state house?
Well, we're definitely looking at state senators who are pro-business and who really believe in economic freedom and really strongly believe in a stronger healthcare system in Nevada. And those candidates are April Becker for State Senate 6, Carrie Buck for State Senate 5, Joshua Dowden for State Senate 11, and of course, the incumbent Scott Hammond, who is our incumbent and our leader for District 18. We really think those are seats that are pretty critical. We really want to make sure that we get our state Senate back. As you know, you require a 2/3 majority. The Constitution requires a 2/3 majority to raise any kind of taxes. And we don't want supercilious taxes to be raised without true, asking yourself true analysis of whether we need to raise taxes. We have an economy right now where so many people are out of work. How are they going to pay taxes? The Democrats want to raise property taxes, sales taxes, gas taxes. Well, at the end of the day, who's going to pay all these taxes? Most of our citizens came to Nevada out of California because they don't want to pay high taxes, right? They don't want to have an all green energy, which is what you have in California, and that's why they have these regular blackouts. They all came to Nevada because they want to find a place where they are paying most of their revenue is something that they can keep instead of being taxed to the government for inefficient programs. So those are the seats that we think are really critical. Assembly seats that we think are really important to get are maybe Assembly Seat 2, where Heidi Kasama is running, and she's pro-business. She is a small business owner. She's been president of the National Association of Realtors here in Nevada, and we're really proud of her. We also have Assembly Seat 37 with Andy Matthews, who is extremely well-versed in the economy and analyzing good public policy. And we also have Steve Delisle, Dr. Steve Delisle, who's in the medical health profession for Assembly Seat 29.
Yeah, I would add another assembly candidate, Tony Palmer, and I got a chance to speak to him. And you know what? He is a patriot. He have a very conservative agenda. And one of the things that he told me that, hey, I don't want to have any tax raising at all whatsoever. And they are proposing what they call is mileage tax, which to me, I think that is, we double kill. We pay on the gas tax and now we have to pay mileage tax. So I think that is one of the things that we should support the fiscally conservative candidates. And on the list that you gave, I mean, those are people who actually living like us. If we're raising the tax, of course, the revenues may not be collected as much as they lower the tax. So sometimes that people don't understand economy and economics. So
so let me talk a little bit about the mileage tax and why it's so strange and ridiculous.
Sure.
First of all, they're trying to add a tax on mileage because there are a lot of electric car owners. And the Tesla has become quite popular. Actually, Teslas, because they use electric energy, it burns clean. It's a clean fuel. You don't have the problem with carbon monoxide. So the Democrats want to impose a mileage tax on these electric vehicle owners because they couldn't get the gas tax from them.
Right.
So it's their way of trying to tax everyone. But the problem is the Democrats on one hand is saying, hey, we want you to burn clean energy. On the other hand, they're penalizing them for doing so. So it's another way of trying to raise revenue without asking yourself, what do you need the revenue for? And it's hurt, it's really kind of, they're being very hypocritical with the mileage tax.
Right.
Right.
Let's switch to another subject. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Supreme Court race.
Oh, yes.
6B, could you elaborate on that a little bit so we can understand exactly what it was?
Well, the Supreme Court race is between the Chief Justice for the Criminal Court here in Clark County, Doug Herndon, versus Assemblyman and personal injury lawyer Ozzie Fumo. And we are supporting Doug Herndon, and all of law enforcement is supporting Chief Judge Doug Herndon because he's a judge. Number one, he's actually a judge. He's been a judge for 12 years on the bench. So he actually knows what it's like to be an impartial arbiter of criminal cases. He's had substantial amount of experience with death penalty cases, all types of violent crime cases. So his experience in the criminal realm is substantial. Before becoming a judge, he had a dozen years as a prosecutor in the district attorney's office. Ozzie Fumo, on the other hand, is a trial lawyer, has absolutely no experience as a judge. That's number one. But secondly, the reason why Ozzie Fumo is very worrisome is because he's been an assemblyman twice for 2 terms. And so he has intricately been involved in voting for and against every single bill that's happened in 2019 and 2017. So he has had quite a bit of experience in terms of voting for and against these laws and bills. The problem with that is if you vote for those bills or against those bills, you are no longer an impartial arbiter. You need to recuse yourself from every single decision. And most importantly, 2 days ago, we had a decision to come out from the district court out in Carson City invalidating the extension of the payroll tax based on the fact that it violated the 2/3 requirement, 2/3 vote requirement in the Constitution. Well, Ozzie Fumo tweeted that he thought that was a travesty and that as a Democrat, he intended to reverse that decision. Well, you are not impartial if you've already tweeted that you're going to reverse that decision. We have a major problem with Ozzie Fumo because he can't even pretend to be impartial. And if you can't be impartial and fair, how can you possibly be a Supreme Court justice? The Supreme Court in the state of Nevada is the supreme law of our land in Nevada. That's a real problem for Ozzie Fumo, and he should be disqualified, and he shouldn't even be considered a Supreme Court justice candidate for that reason alone.
Running for justice court, I mean, it is something that you get to be impartial. So we are touching on the Supreme Court of the state of Nevada. What is your take on the recent pass over of the Supreme Court Ruth Ginsburg? And there's probably going to be a fight between the two parties. So, what is your take as an attorney?
As an attorney, I think that the U.S. Senate should go ahead and do its business and try to fill that seat. A lot of Democrats have claimed, well, the Senate has refused to do so back in 2016?
Yes.
When there was a big fight over Merrick Garland.
Right.
But, with everything that's going on, we need someone in that seat as quickly as possible. There have been multiple lawsuits filed up and down the aisle against Trump, for Trump, against different legislators. We need that seat filled. And if we have a capable, impartial justice who can fill that spot, I welcome that wholeheartedly. And I understand that there are 2 female candidates, 2 women judges, both of which are qualified. They are extremely qualified. And I think that we should fill those seats. I really like both candidates. They come from very diverse backgrounds. And I think that's what we need in the Supreme Court is diversity. We have, I believe, a Latino justice a candidate, a women candidate, and I believe we also have a woman who's had 7 children.
Mm.
And as a mother, I would really like to see a woman candidate up there who has had multiple children. I have 4 children, and understand that, you know, the compassion that comes from being a mother and how important that is in the whole fabric of our society.
But I mean, it's not going to be easy, though. Right now, I think that at least the president has the vote. I think that the last that I heard is that Romy is going to vote the way that Trump wanted. So I guess that we have the vote now. The question is that, is it going to be a big fight on the Senate floor between the two? And, you know, they may have some tactic of delaying it. But hopefully that peacefully we're going to resolve the issue. And as you mentioned, I mean, we need it because that this election is going to be, if someone is contesting the elections, we have, you know, 4 and 4. I mean, that, you know, we can't solve the problem on the Supreme Court. So that could be another chaotic situations.
Yeah, I think that, you know, it may be a little chaotic, but people have to understand that, you know, elections do matter. And that's why it's so important that everyone vote, and you have to vote your conscience, and most importantly, vote for your family. What do you want from your vote? I know I want personal security, what's really important to me, economic freedom. I want to be able to exercise my right of free speech, my right of exercising my religion. So those are the things that I ask everyone to vote for. Don't vote just based on party lines, but vote really on your conscience and what it is that what you expect out of America. And if you can vote that way and think that way, I think that you'll be able to vote well. I think it's really important for people to be informed, not only to just watch CNN or watch Fox. You need to watch both of them. You need to watch and read as much as you can so that you are an informed voter.
Right, exactly. Some people that they just learn it from TV, which is, you know, the commentator is...
The fake media is here. I mean, they make up stories, and it's shocking. I think with my son 4 years ago during the presidential debates, he watched all those debates with us. And we would flip back and forth between CNN and Fox, and he was shocked at the narrative.
Right, exactly.
CNN. You know, it's when you actually witness an event and you have someone else commenting on it, it's eye-opening. You know, it's really, scary when you watch a White House press conference, how certain individuals of the press go after Trump in a very non-professional way. And they don't have that kind of attitude when they talk to Biden, or 4 years ago when they talked to Obama. You know, there's that lack of respect, and that troubles me.
The good news is that the new press secretary, she is just amazing.
She is amazing. She's a strong, talented woman.
No, but the thing is that she does her homework now. That's the key. She does her homework before she go to the podium, so they can't attack her. I mean, you know, and she, you know, just turn the page and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is not true, and so forth, with a very, very mild demeanor. So I think that, you know, the president has...
People think that Trump is misogynistic or does not promote women. If you look at his administration, it's primarily women. He's put women into all types of positions. And his daughter, Ivanka, has actually promoted a lot of women's issues, including the extension of the Family Medical Leave Act, not only for women, but for men as well. And we keep forgetting the accomplishments of this administration on a regular basis. And we can't, you know, I mean, Trump has done so much for women that we need to really step back a little bit and look at all of his accomplishments for families and how he promotes families, working mothers and working fathers.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about the congressional race. In your opinions, in this congressional race, which congressional district do you think that you have the best chance of winning, and why?
I'm really optimistic about Congressional District 3 with Dan Radimer as our candidate. The current incumbent, Susie Lee, has done nothing except do everything that Nancy Pelosi wants her to do, which is why we call her a Pelosi puppet. She votes 97% with Nancy Pelosi, whether or not it's good for Nevada. And that's a real problem. When we elect a congressional candidate, that congressional candidate should be representing Nevada, not the left, not the right. It's about how are you representing Nevada? What have you done for Nevada lately? And regrettably, Susie Lee has done absolutely nothing. She has embraced the left-wing politics of Nancy Pelosi and has done nothing in terms of helping Nevada grow its economy or any of its industries. And that's why we're very optimistic about Dan Radimer taking over CD3.
Well, the only issue that I have is that Dan has a little bit of baggage himself, and they use a lot of negativity, and trying to.
They make fun of the fact, and they really forget. They talk about perhaps the fact that he was arrested, and they talk about he was arrested for assault. But what they don't really tell you is that he was defending a friend who was being bullied over at a bar. And he was defending his friend because he didn't want his friend to get beat up. Well, that's what a friend does. Our friend actually sticks up and is loyal to someone who's in trouble. And that's what Dan does. There's also a question about their allegations about sexual assault. Well, those allegations aren't even true. If you have seen how he treats women, he treats them with respect, he treats them with kindness, and more importantly, his wife and all of the women surrounding him are strong, talented women. He is the father of 5 children with a 6th one coming. And he is the father of strong daughters who are wanting to start their own businesses. So he is definitely someone who actually has the experience and know-how. He is not someone who is all about being misogynistic or biased. In fact, he is the most open-minded, giving individual that I've met. He is all about family, being supportive of his family. His favorite thing to do is baking cookies with his daughters because he enjoys time with them. And that's the Dan Radimer I know. Susie Lee has her own baggage. The fact that she's participated and is right now being investigated for insider trading, well, she's got a lot of issues in terms of the money that her husband makes and the money that she makes.
For transparency, I have to say that I have interviewed Susie Lee, Congresswoman Susie Lee before, and I'm going to interview Dan Radimer next week. So I want the 2 candidates. I said that I don't want to have any negativities, except that if you have some platform differences, you can basically provide it to the listener or to the audience.
Without a doubt, Susie Lee is very wealthy. And how can she possibly empathize with what we are going through right now during COVID-19? Right? Look at our economy, 25% of us. That's a 25% unemployment rate. What is she doing to help us out? Is she even struggling like the rest of us? Dan Radimer has a restaurant and some other businesses, and all of those businesses are suffering. So he's actually in the midst of it. He's actually suffering with the rest of us and understanding the issues that need to be taken care of. The federal issues that are really of great concern, everyone keeps talking about immigration, but we also need to talk about, besides immigration, our trading, our national security, all the great things that Trump is doing with creating peace and trade between the US and Israel and the United Arab Emirates. With what he's doing, we're talking about world peace. Okay, and that's something that's really important. We've sent in so many resources to deal with Middle East problems since the 1950s. We're now in 2020. The Trump administration is not interested in sending out more troops to Syria or sending out troops. He wants to recall those troops back. He wants to create relationships between Israel and the Arab countries. And I think that's important to have someone like Dan Radimer who wants to promote that type of stuff, to promote peace. If we have world peace, can you imagine all those resources can then be used to feed homeless, to help with very important welfare programs? And I think that's, you know, you really have to ask yourself, why do we, when we have a federal representative and we send them to Congress, what do we want them to do and what do we want them to promote?
Right. Well, I mean, talking about the occasions that when the president just get elected, they said, you know, we're going to have war with with North Korea, but now they became friends, and all of a sudden that, you know, they didn't talk much about that. So basically,
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing is, you know, Donald Trump has been, as you know, nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize.
right,
And they may not like his tweets and they may not like his personality,
right,
but he's done wonders in terms of getting North Korea's leadership to talk to him and to start communicating. That had never happened. That didn't happen during Obama's administration. You know, Biden didn't do anything about it. And that's a real problem. We have now better communication with North Korea, and North Korea is now having better communication with South Korea, which is huge. And he's done wonders for the Middle East. I mean, without a doubt, we are in a safer position today in terms of national security than we were 4 years ago.
right. Let's talk about our Asian community. Most of the Asian American think that I don't vote because I feel like you know, it won't make a difference. Historically, the voter turnout rate for Asian American has been very, very low. So I believe one of the reasons is that we are failing to provide them with the appropriate resources in their language, or fail to educate them on the information of the candidates. What would you do to excite the AAPI to go to the poll this time around, and how do you educate them? Any plan?
Well, you know, thank goodness for newspapers like Las Vegas Chinese Daily News and some of the other publications that are in different languages. And I'm really hoping that those newspapers give unbiased reporting about issues and concerns. How do I think that right now, as an Asian American mother, I'm very concerned about discrimination and how it impacts the Asian AAPI children. You know, for many years, there has been discrimination against AAPI college applicants. They've had to score anywhere from 250 points or 400 points higher than their counterparts based on the color of their skin. And we can't tolerate that type of discrimination. We now have a reverse discrimination that's impacting our children's ability to get into top colleges. The Trump administration has accused Yale of doing so and has evidence of that. And now the California UC colleges are eliminating the SAT and ACT requirements, right? So, and of course, you know, most Asian kids tend to work really hard and tend to score very well on these standardized tests. I think we need to step back as Asian Americans and say to ourselves, is this fair? And who is making all of these policies to belittle and denigrate us and to take away our opportunities to attend great colleges, which is the doorway to opportunity? We need to seriously take a look at those lawmakers and say, stop. You know, where is the standard of education? Why are we not saying that, yes, we do need standardized tests? On the other hand, the UC system most recently said they're getting rid of affirmative action. Well, how does that work in terms of, you weren't supposed to have quotas for Asian Americans versus African Americans versus Latinos anyways. So the only way that we can navigate our way through these treacherous waters is to vote for legislators and lawmakers who believe, like us, in family. They believe in family first. They believe in keeping the family nuclear unit together, and they believe that the importance of education and the importance of opportunity. And those are the things that I want the AAPI community to really know about, learn about, and use their power of the vote to promote.
Right. California, I think that they wanted to abolish one of the standardized tests. And I don't know how they measure for the admissions of college, though.
Well, that's the problem, is not everybody can get a trophy. Their whole idea is, okay, you know, standardized testing discriminates against certain ethnic groups. I think that there is certainly some discrimination when it comes to economics. You know, you have certainly groups that don't have the opportunity to take a SAT prep course. And certainly there should be a way to give them the opportunity to attend those courses. But then there are people who will find those opportunities, or who will study themselves and work really hard to pass the test, and or to do well on those tests. And I know that there are standardized college tests all over Asia, in Korea, in China, and in Japan. And we also see those types of tests in the Western Europe. And those tests are being used to assess ability, talent, hardworking, whether you are hardworking and diligent. I mean, getting rid of these standardized tests does not particularly help all of the students who are economically challenged. You may find them if you promote them, you put them in a college that's particularly difficult.
Oh, sure.
That's not exactly good for them. They need to find colleges that are a good fit.
Right.
And how do you find a good fit if you don't go through a standardized testing mechanism? Right. When you decide what jacket or what size you are, you have to actually measure your size jacket.
Right.
You don't, if you wear a 36 regular, you're not going to go and pick off a jacket that's a 40 small. So I think that this whole testing is a real issue. I wonder if it's, I actually would speculate that the elimination of standardized tests is being done to eliminate and reduce the number of Asian Pacific students in colleges, at top colleges.
That is that. But going back to the original question, do you have any plan to educate the Asian community a little bit better, so to identify that which one is more to their hearts, and presenting, the differences between one candidate versus the other?
Well, as a club, we meet once a month, and we invite the Asian Pacific community. And it's an open, you could be a Democrat, registered Democrat, registered independent, and you should come to our club meetings so that you can actually find out what the differences are between our candidates and other candidates. In fact, our next luncheon is on October 6th. It's at the Ahern Hotel and Convention Center, and we are featuring 3 assembly candidates: Heidi Kasama, Steve Delisle, and Annie Matthews. And you can get tickets to that luncheon through www.nevadarepublicanclub.com. Our club also issues a monthly newsletter, which talks about our candidates and what issues are important to them. We also feature every Tuesday a Zoom meeting, an open Zoom meeting, so that we can actually get to know the judicial candidates. And our club has published and posted on our website our recommendations for judicial candidates based on their competency, their judicial demeanor, and based on the interviews. We interviewed 12 hours worth of interviews, candidates, to get to know them better and to ensure that they are impartial and hardworking and have the competence and experience to be judges. And that list of recommended judicial candidates will be in the Las Vegas Chinese Daily News in October, and it's also posted on our website.
Wonderful. So, I mean, I need to have those information so the audience can see it on the screen. Before we end this show, is there any message you would address to the audience about the elections and what our AAPI community should do to participate or fulfill their duties as citizens of this country?
Well, I encourage every Asian Pacific American Islander to please, please, AAPI, please vote. It's really important to have your voice heard. And I would encourage everyone to vote early. Remember, early voting is still in operation, so you can go yourself in person to an early voting booth starting October 16th. And please get to an early voting booth and vote. There are concerns about the mail-in ballots. I know I'm concerned about them. And if you have any concerns, because there are questions about whether those ballots will actually get to election office in time, please, please go early voting. It's a fantastic, you get to go in, usually there's a very short line, and you yourself get to pull that lever and get to push those buttons. So I encourage everyone to participate in early voting. And I encourage everyone, of course, to get informed. Visit websites and get to know what every candidate's policies and positions are.
Well, I want to take this opportunity to also mention about the mail-in votes. The FBI is actively seeking fraudulence regarding the voting, and we are working very closely with the FBI right now, issues that we have. So I wanted the audience to know that if you receive more than one ballots in any address that you may have, so please notify us. So the FBI is going to follow the leads and make sure that we have the integrity of the elections. So on that note, I urge you, all of us who listen to this broadcast, make sure that if you see anything that you consider as a fraudulent, please make sure that let us know. Especially, I'm going to have my numbers on the screen as well, so you can contact me, and we will try to make sure that whatever your vote is counted properly, not fraudulent. So thank you so much. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to visit us today, Attorney Pauline Lee. Your dedication to the charitable works to the Las Vegas community and the Asian community is very much appreciated. Good luck with your mission to help the conservative candidate in these elections. To our audience, thank you so much for watching the show, and I look forward to seeing you again on the next episode of The Voice of Viet Vegas. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you, Tuan. Have a good one.
Thank you so much.